So the swim bladder is an organ that is also known as a gas bladder, an air bladder, or a fish maw, MAW. And what it looks like is, if you remember these balloons that people make balloon animals from, and if you twist it in the middle, it gets a little constriction in it. Well, that's what it looks like. So it looks like two sacs connected together by a little constriction. And basically, what the swim bladder does is it enables a fish to take air in, and there are various ways that air can get in there. But there's two different kinds of swim bladders, so I would have mentioned that first. One of them is known as a physoclist swim bladder. That's spelled P-H-Y-S-O-C-C. I'm sorry, P-H-Y-S-O-C-L-I-S-T. And then there's another variety which is called a physostome, P-H-Y-S-O-S-T-O-M-E. So the difference is that in a physoclist, there's no connection between the swim bladder and the alimentary canal. And in the physostome, there is a connection between the swim bladder and the alimentary canal. What that means is that a fish that is a physostome, that has this connection, can actually get rid of gas that's in the swim bladder very, very rapidly by actually burping it out. Since it can take it from the swim bladder into the alimentary canal, it can actually burp it out through its mouth, and it can get rid of air very rapidly. Now, this is an advantage if you want to surface rapidly, because you want to get rid of that air before you go to the surface. The problem is that if you're a physoclist and you can't get rid of the air very rapidly, what happens is if you try to surface rapidly, then that air bubble inside your swim bladder starts to expand to the point where once you get up to the surface, it's likely to have expanded so much that it might explode, and that would kill the fish. Would certainly destroy its swim bladder, and that would probably kill it because it would no longer be able to have any directionality in the water. It wouldn't be able to submerge, it wouldn't be able to surface again, so that would be really fatal for the fish. So the physostomes actually have this advantage that they can go to the surface rapidly, but when they burp all this gas out, it complicates the process of submergence, of going back down again. But they are able to do it. Now the physoclist, what they do in order to get rid of the gas, and it's a slower process, is they actually change their blood chemistry, but change the pH of their blood. So at a low pH, by lowering the pH of the blood, this causes oxygen to move from the hemoglobin of the blood and go into the swim bladder. When the pH then rises, goes to a high pH, then the oxygen moves from the swim bladder back into the hemoglobin of the blood. And in this way, the animal is actually able to control how much oxygen is present in the swim bladder. So what's the point of having this organ? Only certain kinds of fish have it. Teleost. These are spiny fin fish. So the kind of fish that has fins, but the fins actually have bones running through the fin. Things like sharks, which are cartilaginous fish, don't have a swim bladder. A fish that doesn't have a swim bladder has to expend a lot more metabolic energy to remain at a particular level in the water. That is to say that if you want to dive, you've got to swim down to where you want to be. If you want to surface, although you may have a certain natural buoyancy, I mean, any animal can have a particular buoyancy. So just depending on what its tissue density is, it might naturally float, not necessarily to the surface, but maybe its density would be such that it might be at, let's say, 50 meters. And the fish would always stay at 50 meters, but fish don't want to be at exactly 50 meters. Sometimes they want to dive to get a meal, sometimes they want to surface, and they might have to do that to get out of the way of another fish. So they have to expend a lot of energy to do that. But if you've got a swim bladder, you can actually maintain what is known as neutral buoyancy. So you can put yourself in a position where you adjust the amount of air that's in your swim bladder, either by this burping process or by actually transferring the air from your swim bladder into your bloodstream, or vice versa. By doing that, you're actually able to maintain a particular level within the ocean, and you don't have to expend a lot of metabolic energy. And that again is a real advantage for those fish that actually have that kind of an organ.